I think I have a bit of a problem, but I don't think I want help for it. Hey everyone, welcome to Roads of Oz, and this is my 1994 Kawasaki EL250, better known as an Eliminator. And what is it, you may ask? Well, it's a 250cc, water-cooled cruiser bike. Some of you may think it's something from the 80s, and to a degree you'd be right. Back in the late 70s, 80s and 90s, Japanese manufacturers tried to get into the cruiser market, and they'd done it by pretty much they'd have their standard, like for example the Z250A was a normal road bike, your B was a different version of the road bike, then they'd have a cruiser, so it'd be called the Z250D or Limited, or there'd be some sort of variant, and pretty much what it was just a cruiser variant of that other motorcycle. So it'd have a different seat, different tank, different place foot pegs. So they're trying to go up against the Harley market, and what they didn't get, and what I'd say the Japanese manufacturers couldn't understand, is that they put a high performance motor into a cruiser, but people really wanted something like an air-cooled V-twin with a lot of torque and made a lot of noise, not something that you would have to rev and would absolutely scream. Now, the big brother of this, the EL1000, had a 1000cc four-cylinder motor in it, would have absolutely smoked the Harleys of its day, but sold nowhere near the numbers of what a Harley-Davidson would. Pretty much, Harley had the market covered, and the Japanese ended up falling in line. They ended up producing air-cooled V-twin motorcycles, and they've all done it. Yamaha is the most well-known, they're the first with their Virago from memory. They come out in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. Kawasaki persevered up until the 90s before they gave it up. Then now they've got their Vulcan range. I suppose if you look at it, these are the original metric cruisers. What that is a cruiser with the sports bike motor. That's what the Japanese thought we wanted. Turns out they were wrong. Thanks to the tariffs Harley had in the United States, a lot of films from the 80s and 90s, your main character was generally riding a Harley. They weren't, very rarely you'd see them on a Japanese motorcycle. As some of you know, I'm a shift worker, and on night shift I tend to do some silly things. And one of them is Gumtree. I tend to trail Gumtree, looking at bikes under $1,000, and this one here came up. Anyway, I had time to sleep on it, and I still went ahead and contacted the owner. Went out and had a look at it, and done a deal, and for 400 bucks, here it is. Reminds me a bit of my old Laro, and after riding the Harley, a couple of those Harleys, I did miss having a bit of a cruiser. Not that this is a Harley, it's anything but let's look what we do have. The motor's a water-cooled 250cc Kawasaki unit that you will find in the GPX 250s. It first came out in the GPZ 250R back in the 80s. These motors pretty much went all the way through to the mid-2000s. Parts of the motor aren't a problem. What is a problem is the side panels. They are very hard to come by. Luckily we got the internet and we can find just about anything, but just because these weren't a big seller, especially here in Australia, parts going to be a bit of a challenge. Now, I bought it off the owner. He got in, he was quite keen to start with it. What is good is they didn't try to modify it, so there's no angle grinders taken to it. Nothing's been cut. He's actually tried to get it up and running, and I think he's one of those guys, much like myself, a lot of projects, and some had to go, so this one went first. I was lucky, I was able to negotiate a good deal with him. This bike isn't popular. I reckon for every one of these, 20 to 30 Yamaha Viragos sold, and the Virago will command double the price of one of these, so they're not overly collectible. Not many people have an interest in them, but it's a shame because they're actually, I love the GPX, I love the Kawasaki's water-cooled 250cc motor. Now you can pretty much find these motors in just about any wreckers, low kilometre examples, because the GPX 250 was crashed regularly by learners, so finding motors, not a problem. This one I bought and I haven't heard running yet. Bit of a theme with me with cheap bikes under 500 bucks, I know, but we're going to go through it. So I'm going to hook up a battery. I checked the oil. He actually, what is a bit of a concern, he's put oil in it, and he cleaned the carbs, he reckons. He changed the carbs actually. This isn't a standard one. These are off GPX 250, and apparently this was on the other side, but the carbs are that far gone, he swapped them out. Lights are broken here, but he did give me... Lights are broken, but he did give me a set of LEDs, so I'm going to put in its place. I've also got the rear seat, but it's very worse for wear, so I'll probably get that reupholstered, because these are quite expensive, believe it or not, and there's not many available in Australia, so probably be cheaper to get it reupholstered than what it is to replace. Brakes are quite good. The previous owner got them all sorted. I'm quite lucky. It's a bit of pitting along here. I'm going to clean that up. I'll have to change it because I'll be changing that one. I'll be changing that side. This side's not too bad. You can see there's a side cover of some sort missing there. I'll order this for the other side. Your swing arms are a touch bit rusty, not too bad. These are a bit rusty, they need to clean up, and I'll probably replace the rear shocks. It's got some good tie down points, which will be handy. Drum brakes, they seem to work all right. The dreaded spoke rims are a pain in the bum to keep on top of, but I'm going to just take them with some steel wool and see if I can clean it up. Give this, and there you have it. There's a couple of dents on the tank. It is a similar colour to the Grisso there. So why did I buy this? Well, what can I say? I like to punish myself on a regular basis. But I'm going to see if we can get this started. I'll put a battery in it. I'll try start it. I'll check the coolant levels. Now, normally when I get a bike this age and for this amount, the first thing I'll do is give it a full service. So oil, filter, plugs, coolant. Get all those things sorted. Make sure it's got spark. Then we go from there. What I'm going to do in this case, I'm just going to connect up the battery. I believe the CB125 battery. I'm going to see if that fits it. Hopefully it does. We're going to add some fuel and we're going to try start it, so we'll see how we go. Alright, so it's the next day. I started playing with the bike, checked the spark plugs, checked they got spark. It's a cow of a job. They're really awkward to get to. If you want to know how to do it, just look up any video Kawasaki GPX 250 spark plug change on YouTube. There's plenty of them out there, so you don't need to see me do it. What I will tell you is you pretty much need an extension bit this long with a 5/8 bit. Pretty much this, because you've got to get all the way into there. And so I took it out, checked the spark. Spark was good. All the fluids are good. So I hooked up a battery and tried kicking it over a few times and just had no luck, none at all. It's just going to bring me to highlight this new one. It's called Start You Bastard. No, that's not a nickname for it. It's actually called Start You Bastard. Sprayed in with the air where the air intake is on any vehicle that's sat for a long time, especially if you think the fuel might be off. It will suck it in through the air intake. It's highly combustible. It's got 25% ether. Australian product too, so it's really clever. Probably that's why the name Start You Bastard. Anyway, put that in and pretty much bike started fairly easily. So I was quite happy about that. I believe there's a bit of an electrical problem because see, you turn it to the on position, lights don't come on, you jiggle it around a bit and the lights come on. So one of the easiest bikes I've ever had to start. So I'm going to take it for a quick spin just to get a feel for it. It's still not running perfect. It's still not running perfectly, so I'm going to need to bring the idle up a little bit. That's probably what the issue is. Very happy with that. Quite impressed. The motor sounds all right, but we'll take it for a spin. We'll find out. All right. So just a quick rundown on how Start Your Bastard works. So you see, it just doesn't want to fire up at the moment. So what I do Now spray a bit into the air intake there. Just gives it enough to get it started. Just feel I need to bring the idle up a bit on it. She's a bit flat. Nice. Oh, touchy brakes. Alright. Well, this now turns into its first run. I'm in thongs, which is bloody stupid, but the tyres feel vague, because the air pressure's not right. But, oh, that feels vague. I better check the tyre pressure. Quite happy with that, that's going alright. If I'm honest, that feels actually more punchy than the Laro, but the Laro was, admitted the Laro had probably a bit more down low grunt, where this thing's a bit of a rev monster. So I think Redline's about the 10,000 mark. Quite surprised, it's going quite well. Probably just need to adjust the idle screw a little bit. I'm actually very happy with this. It probably needs a bit of a run just to clear all the crud out of it. Well, I can't believe it, a little over 24 hours, she's up and running. Got to be happy with that. Sounds like a sports bike in a cruiser frame, which that's pretty much what the EL250 is. And to a much larger extent the EL1000. But make sure they see me. Yep, you see me.